Well, welcome once again. As you can see, the stuff we glued in the last video is all nice and solid. And I'm not going to bore you, showing you every little thing that I glue up. Now, that's not going to get it. Just know that we're going to go ahead and put some glue under here and clamp it down. We'll be doing a lot of that stuff. I'll have little clamps everywhere. We've got some stuff right here that needs to be clamped and glued. We're going to do all of that, all right? But right here, let me show you the decision I made on this. Over here is where that door was hitting. There's really not much we can do with this. It's very thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and trim it down here like this. I'm going to trim it all the way across until I get where the bottom plate, the bottom hinge plate goes. We're going to take that top layer off. Then we're going to lay our glue in, all behind everything that's even remotely loose here, and clamp it up. And that'll take care of that. And as far as this goes, we have a few things that even on this piece that goes in here. This will have to be glued and clamped, right here. We'll be doing that with little clamps. And I've got a crack spot here someplace. Oh yeah, right here. That one right there. That's going to have to be glued down. Little things like that. Nothing, no big deal. Okay. However, I did cut out our little square right here, as you'll see, where we're going to put that brown thing. And what did I do with that thing? Let me get it. Alright, this little brown thing right here is going to fit nicely right in there, just like that. Look at that. Fits perfect. And I've already roughed up the back. We'll go ahead and put a whole bunch of that JB Quick on there. Just smush it all down in there and clamp her nice and snug. She'll be good to go. And that's basically it for here. This old Phil over there in England, Steel City 321 PB, he said, remove all this wood, replace it and all that. Well, I understand what he's saying. I understand. However, I want to use as much of the wood, the original wood, as possible for this cabinet. I don't mind a few dings and dents and bangs and stuff, just like in the radios I've restored and you've watched me do over the years. I consider them, the bangs and the bumps and the cuts and all this other crap, normal wear and tear type stuff. I consider it battle scars of a bygone era. And if this thing actually came out of a bar, you can bet it's all battle scars. Anyway, the wood though is, even though we're gluing it all together, the wood is very solid, There's nothing wrong with it there, and it's good and solid. Everything is nice and solid. So about the only weak spot we have is up here, and we're going to go ahead and fix that. You can bet on that. Once we get this thing, get it in glued, I have plans for this. Once we put that board back down, the one like that over there, we'll fill all of this in with wood, and I may have to wind up trimming some of this out. I don't know. We'll deal with it when the time comes. We got this wood here that needs to be glued and clamped. We're really zeroing in on it right now. This was really a weak spot right here. And this is very thin right here. So once we get all that glued up, she'll be a lot more solid, and I won't feel so bad about it. Meanwhile, I decided to make this a shorter video. We're going to go ahead and educate you on the various parts, the components of the actual jukebox itself. So here are the parts that make up this jukebox. We've already covered the amplifier. This handles the audio, that's all. It amplifies it, puts it to the speakers. And you have your two separate channels right here. And this is the SHF A1, which of course is not the original that came with it. It should have been the SHF A3, but that's okay. We can live with this, no problem. Nice and clean now on the top. This handles the audio. This is the Tormat Selector unit. Now this is the TSU1. The Tormat Selector unit TSU1 code A. This handles no audio. What happens is when you press the button on the Tormat electrical selector, which is this thing right here, the push button mechanism, okay? These little babies right here, these are all your push buttons. Here and here, your letters and numbers. When you press a letter and a number on that thing, it sends a signal to this unit here. This unit in turn sends it over here to what's called the Selectomatic mechanism. Oh, there's a mouthful for you, huh? This is called the Selectomatic mechanism, or mechanism for short. So we'll be calling it the mechanism from now on. I didn't know what it was. Now I know. Okay, I'm happy. And this here is called the single pricing unit. The single pricing unit SPU1. And that counts how much money you put in the machine, I believe. Sets it up to take dimes, quarters, and half dollars. I guess you got to have a different one. There's a universal one that takes them all. This might be it. I don't know. Haven't read that far yet. I'm not even sure if I even need that thing connected into the unit after we get everything else hooked back up. I might be able to just let it sit in there and let the plug hang or fasten it up somewhere. Just keep it. You never know, in the future somebody may want to take this machine a little further and they'll have that. You know, if these things here, these amplifiers, people are asking $400 for that. This thing, you know, in a few years might be $4,000. You never know, or at least that's what they're asking. Remember, amplifier, Tormat, selector, unit. Tormat electrical selector or push button panel. Selectomatic mechanism. All right, now we all know. This feeds that, in turn puts the audio out the amplifier to the speakers, which are those 2 joules over there. I hope we all learned something with that. Well, that's about it. I'm not going to bore you much longer, and I appreciate all the good comments. You know, all the new guys have popped in. That's really great, or at least the new ones that I've noticed. I think it's fantastic. So let me see, was there anything else I wanted to cover? Let me think about it for a minute and I'll come back and let you know. Alright, I think one of the things I'll cover is I'm going to go ahead and put that JB Quick on there. I'm going to smear it on real good and put it in place. And then there's something outside you all might be interested in. This is the concrete apron leading up to our garage. I got looking at it and I said, you know, the job they did on this particular apron is not good. So I contacted the guy that built the building. He contracted the contractor for the concrete. His guys did not do the concrete. A company that he contracted with did it, subcontracted to. I didn't like the way they did it. The edges were only about that thick. Now the center is a lot thicker, but the edges were only about like that. And I said, you know, so I sent him a video and he said, John, you're exactly right. That sucks. And this is a fella that was recommended to me because he warranties his buildings for life, and he gives no questions asked. If you have a problem, you contact him. He takes care of it. And he has sent out some guys already. They're busting it all up. They're going to lay me a whole different concrete company. They're going to go ahead and pour me a brand new apron here. Fantastic. No questions asked. Those are the kinds of people you want to deal with. And I'll let you see it once it's all done. They're coming back tomorrow to get some more, and keep in mind the temperature is very, very hot, so they're working very hard out here. So it's a tough job in Arkansas to be a cement guy and a roofer, let me tell you. Anyway, until next time, this is John. I'll tell you what, let's not end it quite so early. This is the Tormat electrical selector, or the push button mechanism. Here's all your push buttons. I went ahead and cleaned it, spray cleaned it. It looks really good. A whole lot better than it did. Much of the dirt is gone. The only way to get rid of it all would be to completely disassemble this, and there's no way that's going to happen. And it looks very, very complicated when you look at it. You're like, oh my God. Well, let me show you what the schematic for this thing looks like. Alright, this whole thing that looks terribly complicated boils down to a schematic this big. Can you believe that? That's it. This time, these are your push buttons with a bunch of wires running to different plugs and terminal boards. That's it. Over and done. Probably the most complicated thing in here is this latching relay and this 0.02 microfarad capacitor. This is this here would be, let me see, C361, okay? And for Brendan, I'm on page 3144. This is a type TES 106, but apparently it applies to the 107 as well, which is what this is right here. At least that's what I know so far. So that's it for that. We're going to go ahead and move that out into the garage and let it dry from the spraying I gave it. It looks much better. I'm real happy with that. Next time what we're going to do is take the Selectomatic mechanism and we're going to move it over to here, and we're going to start tearing some of it apart. We're not going to rip it completely apart, but we're going to take some pieces off and we're going to do some cleaning on it as well. So if you're up to it, you got the guts, be here next time.